Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and in this video we'll be doing a full breakdown on the Red Mage job changes coming in Endwalker. This information is fresh out of the latest media tour, but bear in mind everything in this video is still subject to change before Endwalker's release. I won't be focusing much on potencies here for that reason either, unless I think it's worth noting for any particular reason. Also, there's a playlist in the description and from clicking the eye in the top right corner, so check out all of the Endwalker job change videos. With that, let's get started. So Red Mage's flow is remaining mostly the same in Endwalker, but they've adjusted certain aspects to improve their AoE and allow some leeway with your resources going into your melee combo. The big change is how the job gauge works now. Now when you use your enchanted melee combo or enchanted moulinet, they now generate stacks of mana, designated by the diamonds at the bottom of the gauge. With 3 of these, you can cast your Verflare or Verholy, and then do your Scorch and even a new Red Mage finisher. All of these skills are now also AoE, so your single target and AoE bursts are pretty much identical for ease of use. They even transform Verthunder 2 and Verarrow 2 into Verflare and Verholy now when you get to that point. The 3 times Moulinet is a bit more white and black mana total to get through, but the process is much more standard now. Another change is the mana generation and mana cost of your various spells and enchanted melee skills. The melee combo now costs a total of 50 white and black mana, as opposed to 80 in Shadowbringers. To accommodate for this, the single target filler spells had their mana generation adjusted. Jolt 2 was brought down from 3 to 2, Verstone and Verfire were brought from 9 to 5, and Verarrow and Verthunder were brought down from 11 to 6. Verflare and Verholy were also brought down, reduced from 21 to 11, and Scorch was reduced from 7 to 4. The only thing that doesn't appear to have been adjusted is the AoE spells, and given that I said Moulinet has a higher overall cost to get to your AoE version of the rotation, I'm not really too surprised by that. So you might not need as much mana as before, but you also don't generate as much. We'll cover the exact numbers later after we cover some of the other changes and additions. So for other pre-level 80 changes, Displacement, Engagement, and Core all have a second charge. This probably means a much busier opener, but it does also mean that if you can't spend these tools as they become available due to boss mechanics, that you won't overcap, which improves their efficiency. If you also need to keep one for more mobility, you have the option of doing that as well. Engagement was also lowered to level 40, the same level you get Displacement, so this makes for a much more consistent learning experience at the lower levels. You'll actually have it when you unlock Red Mage at level 50, instead of waiting another 22 levels just to not backflip. Oh, and I almost didn't notice, they also had their cooldown reduced from 40 seconds to 35 seconds, likely indicative of how much more frequently they expect you to be in your melee combo. Next is Modification. Previously, it doubled the Red Mage's white and black mana, while also increasing their damage dealt for 10 seconds. Now it grants a flat 50 white and black mana, and grants you stacks of Modification, boosting your magic damage for as many spells as you have stacks. It's basically designed to boost the damage of your 3 enchanted melee skills and all the follow-up magic spells exclusively, while also instantly granting you access to them. It also ensures that no matter what your current mana is, you can go right into your burst window, no questions asked. It also gives the Red Mage 1 charge of Core and Displacement/Engagement, so I'd imagine you'd want to avoid overcapping on these, but we'll talk about later, that might be a little tough. But I'm sure your biggest question is about Embolden. Well, I actually have good news. They changed it. Well, a bit. It no longer exclusively boosts the party's physical damage, now boosting all types of damage to those it applies to. It does, however, still degrade over time, but Red Mages will definitely feel better in all comps now with this simple change. There are some other trait changes, but it's mostly just renaming some existing traits or adding in traits for some of their new job mechanics. The Enhanced Contre 6 trait is now level 74 instead of 78, but is otherwise functionally identical. And you get the mana stacking trait the same level that you unlock for Flare and Verholy, basically just ushering in that new system for getting to your burst. After level 80, Red Mage just gets a few basic improvements to what you already know. At level 82, Verthunder and Verarrow upgrade to their 3rd tier, increasing their damage. Simple as that. At level 84, Red Mage just gets a bunch of upgrades to their potencies, a pretty common trait amongst the jobs around this level in Endwalker. At level 86, Red Mage gets a new utility spell in the form of Magic Barrier. This reduces the magic damage you and your party take by 10%, while also increasing the healing of those affected by 5%. This is an amazing utility to add on top of Res Mage's already valuable utility. It's on a long 2-minute cooldown and only lasts 10 seconds, but it's definitely very awesome. At level 88, you get a trait that increases your acceleration to store 2 charges. Again, this helps with preventing overcapping during downtimes, but that skill still has that 55-second charge time, so odds are you'll use it during 60-second reopeners. At least, even if there is a downtime phase, you can still have it for both 60s and 120-second reopeners. Finally, at level 90, Red Mage's capstone skill is Resolution. This is simply a new finisher that the Red Mage can cast after Scorch, dealing big damage in a line AoE with some fall off after the first target. It also generates 4 black and white mana. Modification also gets a trait at this level to grant the skill another stack of its buff, so that way it will also buff Resolution during your Manification burst. So the actual new skills don't require much in the way of discussion, but the changes to the rate that they generate mana is an important one. As a reminder, it's 50 white and black mana to enter your single target melee combo on a boss, though your initial burst will use modification to cover this cost. So let's use the current opener to see what your melee combo frequency kinda looks like. For this example, we'll use the standard 3-8 opener as it's listed on the Job Shadowbringer's guide in the Balanced Discord. This opener generates 40 white mana and 42 black mana before going into Manification and doubling it, putting you at 80 and 84. If you did that same opener now, forgetting the modification changes, you generate 22 white and 23 black mana. Fortunately, the lower generation doesn't matter for going into burst windows because modification just grants you enough to do it. So now we have to compare the total mana after your burst is done. The melee combo for the old opener would consume mana down to 0 white and 4 black, while the Endwalker values would remain at 22 and 23 respectively. After performing Verholy and Scorch, your Shadowbringer's opener would bring you up to 28 white and 11 black. Then of course you have the Swift Cast for Thunder after, but for simplicity's sake we'll just leave it at this. In Endwalker, after Verholy, Scorch, and Resolution with this opener, you'd be up to 41 white and 31 black. I guess there is an extra GCD here with Resolution, so fair to include that Swift Cast for Thunder for the opener as if it wasn't Shadowbringers, so I guess we'll actually say the Shadowbringers one would be at 28 white and 22 black. This puts you a lot closer to your melee combo in Endwalker, even with the reduction of mana generation. Now, I don't think the old openers are going to continue to be optimal. They worked the way they worked because of the time it took to get enough mana to then double it with modification and actually get going. Now that modification gets you right into your melee rotation the second you press it, Red Mages can likely adjust this so that modification in their melee combo will happen whenever their party composition's burst actually begins. I'd imagine, want all 6 buffed Manification skills in the full burst. This also means that Embolden will likely come right before this burst as well, again, depending on composition and boss mechanics. Then the number of potential off-globals is pretty intense. I'd imagine Red Mages want to get rid of their charges for their movement skills so they don't overcap them when they use Modification, while also trying to get Contre 60 and Fleche, Embolden, and Manification, not to mention you might potentially have to Addle in the opener. I mean, that's a lot, and I suppose it's unlikely to pan out exactly the way I imagine it in my head. You'd probably just have to dump one of each of the movement skills, and then you'd have 2 to use during your Embolden burst window during your melee combo, unless you need to keep them for movement for a specific mechanic. Oh, not to mention, you got a pot somewhere in there, which I can't imagine you'd want to do pre-pull and burn 7 to 8 seconds of the actual pot window, but then again, maybe that's not the ideal opener anymore is the modification pre-pull. I don't know. These are the things where I kind of wish I was a bit more of a Red Mage main. I might be able to comprehend what these changes actually mean for the job in a little more depth, but even on the surface, it's pretty easy to see that it's either going to be an insanely busy opener on both globals and off globals, or you're just going to have to make some clear sacrifices to do something that is mathematically better. I'm really interested to hear what Red Mage mains think. As most people know, I'm not a Red Mage enthusiast. I often don't find myself gravitating towards this job in the current game, and that's been reflected in my opinions prior. This, however, I don't have an issue with. It's just never been a job that I personally jived with or found fun. But I love seeing that there is this new math, there is this adjustment to the flow, and these kind of things excite me even if the job doesn't necessarily. So whatever the Red Mage mains have to say, what the theory crafters have to say, is going to be very worth listening to. Because now more than ever, I think we all really need to understand how jobs work at their openers, 60-second, and 120-second reopeners. At least if you're playing at a high level, you want to make make sure you understand what those bursts look like, exactly when they come up, how to get into them, and how to play in between them. So red mages, best of luck figuring that out, but for now, I'll have to end the video. Be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and check out all of my other Endwalker job action videos. With that, I'll see you in the next one, and until then, take care.